Divine Word graduates 800 in Madang Campus. Women celebrate day with blend. And PNG Boxer maintains record.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening and thank you for joining me for Sunday's news. Journalist Dr. Kevin Pamba was among students who graduated from Divine Word University today. Dr. Pamba graduated with a PhD after completing his thesis titled Communicating with Landowners in a Liquefied Natural Gas Project, a Papua New Guinea case study. More than 800 students graduated in various undergraduate and postgraduate programs.
Journalist Kevin Pamba is a former newspaper business editor and is currently the director of Divine Word University's Community Information Center. He is the only PhD candidate graduating today and has also become the 6th doctoral student to graduate from the university. Mr. Pamba was among more than 800 graduating students who also graduated in various undergraduate and postgraduate programs. The ceremony brought together hundreds of parents, guardians, friends and relatives to witness DW's 36th graduation ceremony.
Bachelor of Business Accountancy.
The Secretary of the Department of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology, Father Yan Zuba, government ministers and other dignitaries also witnessed the program. Keynote speaker Father Yan Zuba highlights the importance of the university's academic theme on a transformative learning with core values for the digital age.
How can technology help this happen? I think that ethics and values are not only important to this question, but they are fundamental. I believe we are at a turning point in the evolution of PNG society, and that a singular focus on the generation of material wealth will undermine our great tradition of being a people-oriented culture. I believe we need new kinds of leaders to embrace a new future where ethics and values are central part of how we move forward.
DW President Professor Cecilia Namboy also stressed the university's aspiration of sending out graduates into service, a quality graduate, adding graduates must continue learning by engaging in the world around them with a positive attitude.
Today's conferral of degrees, diplomas and certificates confirms the successful completion of your studies and your readiness to face the real world of work, regardless of whether you are employed by someone else or by your own self. Graduation day is the second phase of your initiation into the real world. The journey is only just beginning. There is much uncertainty and you will encounter many kinds of challenges, but there will also be many opportunities.
The university also recognized 18 students for academic excellence. The students scored a higher GPA. Martha Louise, National EMTV News, Madang.
70 Papua New Guinea Defence Force personnel had been deployed to Southern Highlands and Hela provinces respectively. The officers are from the 1st Royal Pacific Island Regiment at Tauranga. The first 35 will be stationed in Como Airport, while the other half is bound for Southern Highlands. Among the troops that were deployed are 10 specialist combat military-trained medical personnel. Their main task is to help provide security, medical assistance, and help in distributing relief supplies and setting up care centres to disaster-affected villages. The first 9 containers of relief supplies travelled up the Highlands Highway and arrived in Tari yesterday. The Hela Provincial Administration received the supplies and began unloading for a recount of its contents. Authorities say the supplies include water containers, rice, beddings, utensils and food items. A stocktake will be done before they are distributed to affected areas of Walagu, Mount Sisa and Bosavi hit by the quake. Police, military personnel and public servants will be involved in the distribution of the relief supplies. Distribution is expected to begin tomorrow. Papua New Guinea will possibly be the first country in the world to conduct deep-sea mining. The technology and the equipment developed for the activity will also be experimented in the waters of PNG. Academics such as Professor Chalapan Kaluwin, the acting executive dean for School of Natural and Physical Sciences, who has been researching marine environment at PNG, says these new equipment pose a threat to PNG's marine life as no one knows yet the potential damage the materials can do.
The group has been raising awareness in Alatau about the impacts of deep-sea mining and has been receiving a good number of support so far.
Our livelihood stems from the land where we plant our cows and the sea where we get our fish. And that's been for generations. Money just came in yesterday and then it can be spent today and tomorrow. But our cow and fish will still be there. Take away our sea, you're taking our livelihood away from it.
Professor Kaluwin says the mining activity poses a bigger threat to the marine life and the villages around the area as there are many unknowns about the activity. Professor Kaluwin stressed that the areas where the experimental mining is expected to take place houses the region's largest tuna stock, and the unknown machines that will be used will cause the tuna to possibly migrate elsewhere. He said protecting the environment and the resources should be priority and is sustainable thinking.
And so when you have somebody come bait you with some kind of resource, you will think to bring your resource now. There's no place in the world like this. We are the guinea pigs of the world.
The Environment Group is calling on people to raise awareness of the Solwara 1 project. Stephen says the government has been preaching about sustainable development, but itself is not leading by example.
Nothing has been done. So I'm just amazed that the Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister will go on paper to say that they want to see green growth in Papua New Guinea. And yet, our actions or their actions is totally against what they preach on the book.
Stacey Yalo, National, EMTV News.
In a statement on their website, Nautilus Minerals announced that it has successfully completed the submerged trials for its seafloor production tools in Papua New Guinea. Mike Johnson, Nautilus CEO, says the objective of the trial was to ensure all 3 machines met the requirements of their respective function design specifications in submerged conditions. The company claims completing the trials in PNG has allowed Nautilus to work closely with its partner Petromin, officers from the various governments, regulatory agencies, as well as representatives from provincial governments of New Ireland and East New Britain. The equipment is currently being prepared for shipment to China, where it will be integrated onto the vessel. The demand for bride price remains a common practice for many Papua New Guinea communities, especially the Highlands region. Yesterday, a bride price demand ceremony was held at Port Moresby's northwest at the Mautana settlement. Cameraman Alan Terry captures the ceremony between the Gumini people of Simbu and Nipa in the Southern Highlands province.
2 different ethnic communities gathered yesterday to embrace a practice when 2 prepare to become 1. It's a time where drinking and feasting is also heavily involved. Exchange of gifts and exchange of words is as leaders of the 2 communities express.
Sidlo Simbu, especially Gumni, now planning in Chalo Nipa. So you look at him good seed, and by carrying good luck again, you by looking Calablo, Simbu Long, Nipa. Thank you.
For the ceremony, Jacinto Mole, 22 from Gumini district in Simbu province, is tying the knot with Nixon Pond, 23 from Nipa in the Southern Highlands province. The 2 have won, so the Guminis are demanding the bride price payment.
Demanded 100,000 kingdom of bride price, inclusive of all snubble pigs, all stubbies, excluding all clothes, balloons, garden foods, all utensils over there, that's excluded. Because putting on top of one time here, a mask and person one in the same line the same too. So me play by in the put this something including one time no god.
Accepting the demand, the two different groups exchange a piece of pork to unify and allow the next process of marriage to continue.
You walk in. You come lo weblo you lo custom you. Me too. Me get on weblo me. On tradition custom houseman lo me stop me become lo weblo me too. Thank you true.
Nixon's relatives were given no time frame to present the demand. Jack Lapavet Jr., National EMTV News.
You're watching National EMTV News. Don't go away. We'll have more after this break. Welcome back. Southern Region's provincial representatives received certificates after 3 days intensive workshop on the government's sustainable development goals at the local level. 30 participants from the public and private sectors, including churches and NGOs, took part in the event in Alotau last week.
The 3 days workshop enabled people from the Southern Region to understand the National Strategy for Responsible Sustainable Development, STARS, in PNG. At the closing of the workshop this week, participants were challenged to align with STARS in their local organizations.
If you say, is it long enough that you understood the subject matter? That's where we think. I think it's in terms of moving around the country, we find that there's gaps. And this gap is quite an enormous gap.
Participants parted with new ideas and network through the workshop that was provided by the School of Natural and Physical Sciences Division of the University of Papua New Guinea and was supported by the United Nations Small Grants Program.
What I've learned during this workshop about the SDG goals of the United Nations and the stars of our government strategy, the National Strategy for Responsible Sustainable Development, I believe we can incorporate that quite easily into the existing programs in the church.
This workshop here today gives me a brighter idea where I will take back to my own parish, where I will talk to my other men's and also men's fellowship and the women as well. So we will try to work along with the stars, and then we will continue to develop our place.
Learned a lot, though coming back from the sustainability background, but there are areas that I picked up that I need to go back and introduce in the oil palm with the women's group and also the community, surrounding community that we work in the oil palm area.
The regional workshop is an awareness program that will be done throughout the 4 regions to enable the people at the local level to understand the government's STARS policy to achieve Vision 2050 together as a nation. Stacey Yallo, National EMTV News.
Providing funding to grow SME must be supported with management advice. Maprik MP John Simon says many businesses fail because of lack of support by state and private organizations. MP Simon says Maprik District has established an SME Administration Coordination Unit to help locals grow their businesses.
Town planning to the
Speaking to EMTV News, the Maprik MP believes creating SMEs is not the aim. Supporting and providing guidance is key to help Papua New Guineans become successful in business. MP Simon says this must be understood by all stakeholders.
You see, you can give them the funding, but one problem is the management part of it. You see, in Papua New Guinea, we lack that part. Now, we can go on giving them money after money, funding after funding, but if Papua New Guineans we lack the management part of it, then it's a waste.
The national government's policy on SME has progressed. However, tough economic times have troubled the value of kina. MP Simon says districts must not wait but take ownership in supporting their businessmen and women.
You give them a funding now, you get them started off. After 3 months or 6 months, the business has gone down. The money is wasted. You ask them for financial reports, they don't even have one. They can't even keep one.
He says part of the newly Maprik Resource Center will be the district's SME Coordination Unit.
Now we're setting up that SME Center Administration for Maprik. So through that, We will manage and we will assist to keep the records for every SME in Maprik district. So we will manage the records and the books through that center.
With the national SME policy under review, MP Simon believes providing the right guidance to entrepreneurs will only see the SME sector grow. Jack Lapava Jr., National MTV News.
Being behind bars did not limit the female prisoners at Bomana Correctional Services from celebrating International Women's Day last Friday. Superintendent Francisca Marenge stated that the female detainees, correctional officers, civilian officers and wife of staff members joined in the celebration.
Prison gates did not stop the Bomana female detainees from celebrating the international event. Women correctional officers, civilian officers, and wives of staff members joined in to press for progress.
We witnessed this International Women's Day.
It's time to rethink and live within our means. So that's exactly what we are doing in our own humble and simple ways. We'll try to progress our efforts at our institutional level with the kind of resources that we have.
Among the invited guests was Director General of National Library and Archives, Kaikato Kasi, who is writing a book called The Strength of a Woman. He talked about the importance of women in society.
To say, man is not a man without a woman. So why are we all the time abusing women?
AFL PNG rolled out their new kick program and taught the female prisoners a bit of footy. Its development program has been in partnership with the PNG Correctional Services in their rehabilitation and reintegration initiatives through sports.
So what we're basically going to do today is we will take them out and just show them a bit of AFL footy and run them through some drills, and then we'll have some fun games.
Lilian Sopera-Kinea, National MTV News.
This is National MTV News. A look at stories making headlines overseas when we come back. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas, Australia's Trade Minister says it's crazy to think the White House will seek something in return for its decision to exclude Australia from the tariffs. There are mixed views on whether the exemption would protect local industries globally in the trade fight with the US.
President Donald Trump leaves the White House to address a rally as the world takes stock of two of his highest stakes decisions yet. The first, to slap tariffs on aluminium and steel imports.
Your steel is coming back. Those plants are going to be opening.
Australia's exclusion from the US tariffs confirmed on Twitter, though the President talked of a new security agreement in return with the great nation of Australia.
A shorthand phrase for the paperwork that's got to be done.
It's very likely the US will want something in return. What it is, we don't know.
Senior ministers say there is no quid pro quo.
I've seen some crazy theories about what this might mean in a range of different areas. None of that is accurate.
But what if the US tariffs spark barriers elsewhere?
It's got the potential to be explosive because the Europeans are now saying that they're going to put tariffs on Levi jeans and Budweiser and things like that.
The minister will only say,
we're in choppy trade waters now. It's going to get harder over the next year or two.
We don't believe that a trade war would be in anyone's interest.
As well, the government will be watching for responses to the President's other big decision of the last week, to accept an invitation for talks with North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un.
They're not sending missiles up, and I believe that. I believe that. I really do. I think they want to do something. I think they want to make peace. I think it's...
He's one of the most polarizing figures in popular culture, but former NFL star O.J. Simpson has always claimed his innocence in the murder of his wife and friend. Tomorrow, an interview lost for more than a decade will finally air, with many claiming it proves otherwise.
Is making headlines for an interview that was recorded 12 years ago but never aired. Tomorrow it will.
I want you to forget everything you think you know about that night, because I know the facts better than anyone.
Taped in 2006, the ex-NFL star was asked to speculate about what might have happened back in 1994 when his ex-wife Nicole Brown and her friend Ron Goldman were murdered.
I remember I grabbed a knife. I do remember that portion. Where the bloody clothes, so somebody had to get rid of the bloody clothes.
Simpson recorded the interview to promote his book If I Did It, but after a huge public outcry, the interview never aired.
It is not to be considered in any way to be taken as truth. It is certainly not a confession of any kind.
I think that if you have any question about his guilt, I think that question's about to be answered.
Simpson has always proclaimed his innocence, and during the so-called trial of the century, he was found not guilty. Since then, he's served 9 years behind bars for a botched armed robbery, and he's currently on parole in Las Vegas.
In the wake of mass shootings in the United States, protests have been ongoing on whether or not to ban guns. Recently, the National Rifles Association came under fire after a town hall meeting with parents and students following the Florida shooting. Now the NRA is suing the U.S. state of Florida after it passed a gun control law.
In response to the high school massacre that killed 17 people, the NRA is arguing the bill violates the Constitution. The law raises the legal age for buying rifles in Florida from 18 to 21, bans devices that increase firing speed, and makes it easier for police to confiscate weapons. A nun locked in a legal battle with singer Katy Perry has collapsed and died during a court hearing. Sister Catherine Rose Holzman was one of 2 nuns involved in the property dispute over a former convent in Los Angeles. Perry agreed to buy the property for more than $17 million, but the deal soured when the former residents objected, saying they were uncomfortable handing the property over to the star.
And to Katy Perry to please stop. It's not doing anyone any good except hurting a lot of people.
Sister Holzman was 89.
International and back home, International Women's Day was celebrated in Port Moresby with the unique blend of cultural sensitivities. Hosted by Pacific International Hospital in partnership with Port Moresby Arts Theatre and EMTV, the evening welcomed an undoubting atmosphere of unity. Press for Progress was the global theme, and taken into the PNG context, women were able to discuss in confidence issues that affected their lives.
The evening saw women of varied nationalities gathered together to celebrate International Women's Day at the Port Moresby Arts Theatre. In respect to the victims of the earthquake, there was a moment of silence before the event started.
We remember them tonight, those who have lost their lives and those who are struggling to rebuild. And before we go into a word of prayer to start the evening, let us observe a moment of silence.
Deputy Prime Minister Charles Abel defined what the global theme, Press for Progress, meant to him as a man.
Means keep pushing, keep working. You don't come to a meeting and say we've done it now and that's the end of it. It's a daily thing. And I think a very good point coming out is that everyone, especially you women who are in positions of authority, you have that opportunity to press for that change as well. You can, each and every one of us can do something. Whether it's me down at my household level, respecting my daughters, respecting my wife, demonstrating to my children how men should treat women, to how I behave as a leader and the example I set in how I treat my staff and how I treat women and how I treat people in general and how I conduct myself. It all comes down to a personal, it starts with us.
In a panel made up of 5 highly esteemed women, the discussions were embedded in what progress meant in today's society for PNG women. U.S. Ambassador Catherine Ebert Gray facilitated the discussions. Among the 5 women was Jackie Joseph, founder of Equal Playing Field. She uses this platform to tackle the domestic violence crisis in PNG through generational and cultural change.
Happen on a relationship level. It should happen on a community level, it should happen on a society level, and then it should happen on a national level and even global as well.
The evening was filled with theatrical entertainment, laughter, and women celebrating in confidence. Lilian Sopera-Kinea, National EMTV News.
Although women in PNG are faced by hardships and are victims of domestic violence, many positive changes are evident and need to be celebrated. Linda Babao O'Neill, businesswoman and wife of the Prime Minister, brought this fact out during the panel discussion. She also stated that women who are in executive positions need to help other women and not stag their growth.
Women all over the world face different challenges, especially in a male-dominated arena. Many times it's easier to see all the negativity more than the small positive progress that is happening. Linda O'Neill, businesswoman and wife of Prime Minister, voiced her opinion, stating that so much positive changes have happened, especially in the agriculture sector. Women are now employed and making the same amount of money as their male counterparts.
30 women in Enya province, which is a very male-dominant area, are working for the first time in an agriculture sector, getting the same pay as their male counterparts.
Telecom PNG IT General Manager Bossa Togs oversees the whole of Telecom's technology infrastructure, applications, data, and the teams who drive new developments and innovations. As manager, she sees progress as helping those who work with her to advance in their careers.
What I do and what I think, it's not about my thoughts, it's about what will work for everyone else. But how do I set the pace so that other engineers like me, other women like me in that industry can thrive and become better than me?
Deputy Prime Minister Charles Abel stated that women need to work together and help each other. He was also concerned that there were no women represented in Parliament.
There was a disproportionate burden on them to be leaders and to set the example. As I said to them, the weight falls on you because you're being judged, more so than an ordinary member of Parliament. Because, whoa, there's only 3 ladies, how are they going to perform, And people are almost expecting them to fail. And then they extrapolate that onto each and every woman. Just because she failed means women generally can't perform in leadership positions, and that's such nonsense.
As soon as you start making roadblocks because you were trying to hamper someone from succeeding who's a woman in your organization, as soon as you do that, as soon as you start stopping the young people from coming up and learning from you, you yourself are stopping progress.
Lilian Sopera-Kinea, National EMTV News.
You're at Sunday's News. Stay tuned for sporting action in Chukai Sports coming up next.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome to Chukai Sports. The SP PNG Hunters beat the Ipswich Jets 22 points to 12 this afternoon at the National Football Stadium. It was a sloppy match for both sides as ball handling errors was an issue all throughout the 80 minutes. Hunters led 16 points to 6 at half-time with tries from man of the match Adex Wera and Watson Boaz. Both teams remained without tries throughout most of the second half before Hunters captain Ase Boaz took on the line to score in the last 30 seconds of the match, sealing their victory with a successful conversion kick. To boxing, PNG amateur champion Warren Warupi kept his clean boxing record intact after defeating Australian champion Stephen Anthon in the 69 kg bout in the Kokoda Boxing Challenge. The PNG Games gold medalist packed the bigger punch on the night, sending his Australian opponent swerving around the ring after taking in a couple of right hooks to the chin.
It was a highly charged atmosphere in the arena as Warren Warupi prepared to go to work in the 69 kg bout. Facing a vastly experienced opponent in Stephen Anthon from Australia, The stakes were high for the PNG champion, though it was comparable in the blue corner. Both men never crossed paths before. However, Warupi's ability to maintain consistency in the contest was a determining factor in his previous wins, and it all came down to this. With almost the same punches after the jabs, Warupi went full steam ahead in the first round. Anton, restricted to the ropes, was limited to score punches, throwing few jabs and trying to fend off the combinations from the red corner. Warupi, sensing the urgency, unloaded right-hand punches and followed through with the jabs, then went in sharp with the tight lower body shots. The Australian turning his defense into offense, changing angles and unloaded combinations. But at the sound of the bell in the final contest, Warupi clearly had the bigger artillery, outclassing the Australian. More of the Kokoda Amateur International Boxing Challenge will be featured on MTV Sports Talk Show, Sports Scene, on Monday at 8 p.m. Shane Soroya, National, MTV Sports.
PNG Boxing Union President John Avira says watching PNG's Commonwealth Games selected team win all their bouts signals promising results come April.
17 successful bouts between 3 countries. It's a fight President Avira says all boxers will not forget, with standout performances from all of the fighters. It was the female boxers who dominated the fight.
Yes, we're pretty much happy with what we've seen last night, and it ticked off some of the boxes in terms of our objective. We're very happy with their performance, although we need to do some work, and that's expected. This is a high-level competition, and we are going for the Commonwealth Games, and we wanted to stage this event on our own turf so that they carry some confidence into the next stage of our training camp.
While some of the PNG boxers didn't win their bouts, PNG's Commonwealth Games representatives Charlie Fauma Keama won his fight in the division of 52 kg. John Ume also fought in the 60 kg division and won his bout. Thaddeus Katua and the only female, Laizani Perry Soma, in the team also were winners.
To the red corner.
President Avira says coaches and fighters have identified their weaker areas and will try work on these in their next training camp in Canberra.
Our targeted boxers to the Commonwealth Games, they won their respective bouts, but I think the technical team, the coaching staff have already picked up some edges that they need to concentrate on, and that we will do in our next stage of our training camp in Canberra. The team will be traveling to Canberra tentatively on Wednesday. They stay and train in Canberra at the Australian Sports Institute.
Avira says training will continue as normal in the lead up to the Commonwealth Games, the 2019 Pacific Games and 2020 Olympics. He says the next big international fight to look into hosting in PNG is the Anzac Boxing Challenge. Godwin Eki, National, MTV Sports.
Stay tuned for more sporting action coming up after the break.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To rugby, the Hurricanes are on top of the New Zealand Conference with a dominant display over the Crusaders in Wellington. The Blues, meanwhile, stunned the Lions in Johannesburg with a dramatic last-minute victory.
Last gasp effort might have just saved the Blues season.
Tuapoloto gets the skip ball. It goes across the face and it's a try. It's a try.
Lions fans could hardly believe it, same for the Blues. Staring at an 0-3 start to the year, they staged a remarkable fight back from 18 points down. With less than 20 to play, the Ioane brothers led the charge, Rico at centre helping spark the comeback.
It's the angle! John Aruru. The offload brilliant from Tupologic. The Blues are so close.
So, with the Lions, they couldn't ground the ball from a charge down, which would have sealed a victory. Cue Sonny Bill, then Blues fullback Michael Collins, cool under pressure, before Akira Ioane combined with flanker Murphy Taramai.
And especially in the altitude, I thought the boys fought hard when they were probably a bit tired, and yeah, just a massive result for us to get our season started.
A huge morale boost for the Blues in Joburg, of all places, 38-35. In Wellington, led by the Milestone men, the Hurricanes played like a team in celebration mode. The Crusaders suffered early blows, Ryan Crotty off with the head knock. Concerns also for Sam Whitelock after this attempted tackle on Bowden Barrett. Two big guns gone, the Canes struck.
Now Bowden Barrett, quick pass, beautiful to Geordie Barrett, sprinting hard, fired it back on the inside, by Perenara.
On the back of a brutal pack performance, the Hurricanes started running riot. The Crusaders fortunate to be down by just 21.
Looking to get on the outside, Lamb, and he does.
Despite striking back, the Crusaders were still hounded by Kane's pressure.
This is going to be a try for Proctor.
Never a team to lay down, the Crusaders surged back to within 7 points. But the home team's ferocious defence wasn't going to let this local derby slip. All smiles after the 29-19 victory for two Barretts and the rest of the family at least.
Further afield, Highlanders claimed the Six Nations title, clinching the European Rugby Championship after France shocked defending champions England. The Irish made light work of Scotland 28 points to 8 today in Dublin.
And a couple of hours later, thanks to their French counterparts, Ireland were crowned Six Nations champions.
Congratulations to Ireland, deserved winners by some way.
The Irish far too good for Scotland, scoring 4 tries in the win, securing their third title in 5 years.
It's bizarre again because we won it in our suits, watching a game that we didn't have any control over, but we managed to control enough of the things that we were involved in.
On the other hand, England suffered consecutive defeats for the first time under coach Eddie Jones. Needing a bonus point win to push the competition into the final week, this yellow card to Anthony Watson and subsequent penalty try, putting paid to their chances, eventually going down 22-16.
We're struggling with our game a little bit and we're learning from these games, and it's an important period for us.
Now the two sides meet at Twickenham next weekend with what could have been a dead rubber, potentially historic. Ireland hunting just a third ever Grand Slam.
I know we say they're all big games, but whenever you put yourselves in the position to win everything effectively in this Six Nations, this great championship, it becomes massive.
History on the line for a Kiwi as his Aussie opposite feels the pressure.
New Zealand's sevens team have upset World Series leader South Africa in the round robin played in the latest tournament in Canada.
Struck early against the Bokker, scoring 3 unanswered converted tries in the first half before completing the rout with this long-range effort.
And now big Joe Ravovo, Maccabi Black on the inside. Joe Ravovo goes in, goes out, goes around, pass inside.
In the end, 31-14, New Zealand will go on to play the US in the quarterfinals tomorrow morning. Earlier, they thrashed Russia 31-5 with Auckland winger Joe Ravovo scoring a blistering hat-trick.
And that ends Trukai Sports. Up next, the weather details for the next 24 hours. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
Now a look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region. Showers in Port Moresby, Daru and Kerema, and showers and thunderstorms in Alotau and Popondetta. In the Momase region, all across the region, some showers in Lae, Madang, Wewak and Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, a shower or two in Lorengau and Kavieng, showers in Kimbe, Kokopo and Rabaul, and showers and thunderstorms in Buka. And in the Highlands region, showers then morning fog all across the region in Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg. Forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours. Strong wind warning current for all coastal waters of Vitia Strait, Dampier Strait to Siasi Islands, to Long Island, Madang to Bogia, Wewak and Aitape, Vanimo, northern PNG Indonesian border, including Manus and its western group of islands, to New Ireland and also northern coastline of New Britain. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru, to Kiwai Island, to Kerama, to Yule Island, to Hood Point, to Samarai Island, seas of 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands with waters of Finschhafen through Vitia's Dampier Straits, to Siasi Islands, Long Island with waters of Manus and its western group of islands, seas of 1.5 to 2.5 meters. Waters of Samarai Island to Cape Vogel to Finschhafen, seas of 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Waters of Long Island to Madang to Bogia, Wewak, Aitape to Vanimo and northern PNG Indonesian border with waters of New Britain to New Ireland and Bougainville, seas of 2 to 3 meters. Ocean forecast for PNG areas: in the Coral Sea, seas slight to moderate with southeast to southwest winds at 10 to 20 knots. In the Solomon Sea, seas slight to moderate with northwest to southwest winds at 10 to 20 knots. In the Bismarck Sea, seas moderate to rough with northwest winds at 20 to 34 knots. And in the Pacific Ocean, seas moderate to rough with northwesterly winds at 20 to 34 knots.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And that's been the news, sports and weather for Sunday, 11th of March 2018. From the entire news team, pleasant viewing. Good night.